Hello, everyone, and welcome to Two Dorks, One Mic. I'm Max, and this is my lovely best friend, Kyle.
Hey everybody.
And we're back after a bit of an absence for the last few weeks. It's just been, which we apologize for, it's just been kind of very dry in terms of news. Nothing really worthy of us sitting down and bitching about for an hour, hour and a half at a time. So we just kind of took a little bit of an unsanctioned break, but we're back. But we're doing something a little bit different this time. Rather than our typical just talking, like shooting the shit about normal nerd shit, we're going to be doing our first review discussion since our bringing the podcast back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and we're
And
doing
what exactly are we talking about today, even if
oh
it
we're
wasn't
doing
obvious on the title and whatever?
we're doing the Snyder Cut, the legendary uh cut of the movie that half the internet said didn't exist and we'd never see, and the other half of the internet said it's going to be the most amazing thing in the world. And just do general thoughts right away. I absolutely well. Okay,
Well, I mean, like,
let's see where we're coming from first, because I love BVS, the Ultimate Cut. I think it's an underrated masterpiece, and I've been a big fan of Snyder for a while. I was kind of iffy on Man of Steel, but I really like what he did with BVS, particularly in the Ultimate Edition. So I gave positive reviews to Just League 2017 because I wanted that movie to be good, and it really wasn't.
we all did. We all wanted it to
Um,
be.
so I went into this. I am a huge fan of Snyder. I used the hashtag, and was like, yeah, release the Snyder Cut and all that. I absolutely loved this movie. I thought it was great. Um, it really just blew me away. What did you think, Max? And we'll get more into the discussion.
Well, kind of in a similar thing, where I was coming from was I was, kind of a bit a fan, but I think to a lesser degree. I definitely like Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Cut specifically. I feel like if for all the shit that movie tends to get, I feel like if it's like you want to watch a version of it that's the most cohesive and solid and all around just a watchable film, watch the Ultimate Cut. Like, yeah, it's 3 hours long, but you're getting a solid viewing experience. And over time, and I feel like the more I've watched it and over time, I definitely developed a little bit more of an appreciation and respect for just the kind of the sort of direction that Snyder was going for. Because in the beginning, I wasn't the biggest fan. Like I saw Man of Steel and thought it was pretty okay, and then I saw Dawn of Justice, the theatrical version at least, and kind of was in a similar lane with that. Maybe I think I recall being a little bit more critical of it back then, just because whatever, fuck it. But as time passed, I definitely grew less jaded towards it, and because I think for me going in, I definitely had a certain bias of what I was expecting from like that type of story and those types of characters. But as time passed and I rewatched the film more, I definitely grew out of that and sort of dropped those thoughts and exchanged them for a more optimistic take, and which then followed by an appreciation for just his particular take on this universe and those characters. It's like, yeah, it's different than what we're used to, but it's his vision, and I can respect that as a from a filmmaking standpoint, and then also just from a general art, like artistic creation in general.
Well,
Like,
that's kind of going into the thing, because I mean, because obviously the Marvel universe is the most comparable thing to this.
indeed.
Where I think Disney takes the characters of Marvel comics and boils them down to the most digestible thing for a mass market, which I'm not saying is necessarily bad, but I mean that's what they do. They're a lot less complex than they are in the comics. Like Tony Stark, in the comics is a recovering alcoholic, and he's a little more layered. He's a little more that, whereas in the movies he's a little more joke machine, right?
Well, yeah, and
Well, and then
well,
Snyder. Oh, go ahead.
no, well, I mean, if you were gonna have like a thought I needed to finish, I think I probably should let you finish your thought first.
I was gonna say, whereas Snyder takes the DC characters and he literally makes them Greek myths. Like he portrays them as Greek gods here in the Snyder Cut specifically. Like it's not like there is a, this word gets thrown around a lot, but there is an epic quality to the way he shoots it, to the way he casts the characters. Like oh, like Ben Affleck as Batman. That's kind of an odd, like it's out of left field. Who would have thought Ezra Miller would have made a really good Barry Allen? Who would have thought Jason Momoa for
Who would have
Aquaman?
thought?
Who would have thought Gal Gadot for Wonder Woman? You know, like there's Ray Fisher for Cyborg. Like there's a different level of storytelling in this, and I think it is on a grander scale. And I will say, I think it is more artistically driven and less commercial, where Marvel is making movies that are more,
Well, more specifically, I feel like we should clarify Marvel Studios, not specifically
well, okay,
Marvel,
yeah,
the
well, I
entire
mean,
company.
right, like Marvel Studios is making those movies more
Marketable.
marketable. Whereas, I mean, there's a reason it's called the Snyderverse, because it is Snyder's universe. This is not these characters filtered through Zack Snyder's unique vision. The number one, this movie kicks the ever living shit out of 2017. Let's just get that right out of the way.
I agree. I feel like any bitter memories or thoughts that we've had of what came before, like immediately just expelled. It's like this is just like this version just overtakes all of that presence and
well,
more of a sense of joy.
right. Well, and it's interesting because this is the most comparable to like, you know, just the different styles. Like, yes, this movie's 4 hours. I still think you could make a 3-hour cut of this, and still have it be coherent. No, like I think because like they're like, you know.
Well, I wouldn't deny that would be an interesting experiment. Let's see if
But
we
I
can.
think, but I think this is the better. Because what I'm getting at is like people were like, "Oh, you couldn't have released it in theaters." I think you could have released this in theaters. You could have done, because
Well,
the movie
people don't seem to realize how long movies used to be a couple
right.
decades ago.
Like
people, movies were fucking long.
Well, and also like look at like the original fucking Ben-Hur or Lawrence of Arabia. You know, this is an old school Hollywood epic. And like no, it's just it's much, the movie takes its time getting. I will say the movie should end with the hero shot, where like all the team is standing together. Like once you get to that 3.5 hour mark, everything, it kind of has that Return of the King problem,
where it just keeps going.
right? Because like, oh, the movie's over,
but not really.
But like I think you could have.
I think what he's trying to say is that the epilogue could have been sort of left on the cutting room floor. Is that what you're getting at?
Cutting room floor, like I think you needed Victor Stone's speech. You could have had that with everything wrapped up, and then I think you could have had the look into the future and Martian Manhunter showing up as a post-credit scene. Like you could have made this work theatrically.
Yeah, but what I kind of do think is just refreshing to see is just a filmmaker and their vision that isn't sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Trifled with by studio meddling. That's not trifled with by the typical conventions of film today, where everything has to have a fixed runtime. Everything needs to be, you know, quick and to the point. It's like we're compromising vision for the sake of
runtime.
Yeah, for the sake of runtime, for the sake of being, you know, short, sweet, and to the point, and, you know, just getting people in and out of the theater as quickly and efficiently as possible, versus just, you know, removing us from a time when we can just sit and celebrate the art, when we can sit and experience someone's story, someone's vision, a production that a whole bunch of people spent a lot of hard work bringing to life for us to enjoy without really thinking too much about, the overall duration. It was just like the story is it's like whatever it is, and that goes on for how long it needs to, and we as an audience are just there to enjoy it. So it was very refreshing to just see a film that luxury of being able to do that again.
No,
Where
absolutely. And like I said, I think you and I are in total agreement that this movie is phenomenal. In it doesn't feel 4 hours.
oh
Because
yeah, I know I think we discussed it the other day. It's like I no, I was talking with somebody else. I never felt like I was sitting like there for 4 hours. Like as I was watching, I would curiously check the runtime to see how much had passed, and I'd like, it's like really an hour or 2.5 hours. Like I didn't even realize I was watching like I don't feel like I'm watching a 4 hour movie. It's just going.
oh yeah, the first two, which by the way, I hope this becomes a trend. I love breaking the movie into chapters.
Yes.
That works so well for this. It is.
Well, it reminded me of the director's cut for Doctor Sleep. It had a similar thing
Oh yeah.
where certain, acts, where the film would be sort of broken up into chapter like acts, where for every, little chunk of the story it would, kind of progress in that sort of fashion. And I thought those were a really good tangent, not just for breaking up the scenes and breaking up the story, but I also just kind of like that was sort of just a visual, sort of not a sort of visual way of kind of bringing the novelty of like immersing ourselves in like a book.
Oh yeah. No,
That was
absolutely.
I thought that was a really cool style technique, and so to see that here
Mm.
with this being being broken up into sort of chapters, if you will, or parts, which I think is also reminiscent of this originally supposed to be broken up into like 4 episodic chunks.
Hmm.
But I like that. It's a very good style choice, and it's a very interesting way of breaking up of pacing the story.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that this was just released as one giant thing instead of 4 episodes. Like I think it just works better. Uh,
Yeah, it would have felt I felt like it would have been weird. I mean, I would have been fine with it, but at this, like, I'm just gonna be sitting back, and it's like, oh,
mhm.
so wait a couple
Well, then
seconds for the next
I
part
would
of
have
this.
waited. I would have waited the 4 weeks to just binge it all because I just would have been like, I
Oh,
don't.
no, I think they would have released it all at once. They just would have broken it up
Oh, okay.
into four parts, which I don't really like. I just don't really understand why you'd want to do it like that, because then that would mean that you literally are having this unorthodox intermission every between every hour,
Right.
where it's like, oh, I gotta, this part's over, I now have to wait a couple of seconds, or I now need to select the next part. And it's like, that's just, I'm glad that they just let this be cut as an actual, full length film.
Yeah. No. Well, and I kind of want to get into the cast a little bit. Like Ray Fisher was amazing in that. It's like he. This is the first time I watched Cyborg, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, he's a Justice League member. Because I know they've put him on the team a lot, but I always felt like it was kind of it was weird. Whereas I watched this and I'm like, no, I get it now. I get why he's there. He feels like part of the team now.
Well, I think maybe in the past that was during a time when he still had such a reputation with the Teen Titans that associating him with any other group seemed
Well, and then they brought him into Doom Patrol as well.
right.
You know, and
But I think to get like a feature film like this that tries to sort of break that sort of convention for his character in a more I guess mainstream piece of media is good. I mean, it's, you should be able to, use what characters that you want and don't need to explain yourself. It's like we don't need to it's like just recontextualize it and just tell it in the way that you want, in a way that fits your story.
yeah, no, I just thought it was.
And I love that.
No, I like in this one I'm like, oh no, like it just it clicked for me in a way that it hadn't in other comics and media before. So
Well, that's because we got to see like his entire
yeah.
arc and
What? Who was the idiot that cut all this shit out? Like that's.
I think we know the idiot that fucked his story.
Fuck Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon and all these fucking assholes. Like, and look, I'm not conspiracy theorist guy, but look, I'm a white man, and I want to ask you this: how is it every character of color and of they're all cut from the theatrical cut. Every single one. So much so that when Hippolyta and the other Amazon walk into the place where they're holding the mother box, they did a digital zoom to zoom out the black Amazon who's on Hippolyta's right. They actually digitally zoomed in the shot. You have to like.
Yeah,
This movie was shot on film. You did a digital zoom on film.
No, it's like when Red Letter Media did we're doing their bit by bit comparison of the theatrical with the Snyder Cut. It's like if you were to do that with this, it's awfully suspect how many minorities got cut out of the theatrical version.
Every single character.
Like it's awfully straight. Like if it was one or two characters, I wouldn't have batted an eye. But like every additional minority, I'm sorry. Can you explain this to me? Can someone explain this to me?
Right, you know,
it's like the half Dominican in me is getting awfully concerned right now.
The Amazons of color, Iris West, Victor Stone's mom, the woman that Cyborg gives the $100,000 to, which I love that scene.
Well,
I like explaining his powers and they literally. Why would you cut the save the cat moment? That's literally his save the cat moment. That's why we like him.
Because a couple of assholes really just wanted to fuck this movie over. Is what's up. Because yeah, I really do like that scene because, well, I feel from a writing, just from a story standpoint, I just like how they have that save the cat moment as a way of explaining what he can do. Right. Rather than just have him stand there and do some visual montage with an exposition dump explaining how his shit works. Like, we literally just get to see it. We just get to see him discover all of that and then use it in practice.
Well, and the scene...
Go ahead.
The thing is, too, Cyborg doesn't do anything in the theatrical cut.
No, he's just there. He's just there because he's just a part of the lineup and has to bleed angst.
Right. Well, and it's
despite not having.
Hey, instead of showing this character helping people and also visually explaining his powers in an interesting way of giving exposition, let's just have him mope around the apartment for 20 minutes. It is so weird being simultaneously an hour and 20 minutes into one version of a movie while also being 15 minutes into another version of the same movie. And also both being in the first act. It is so weird.
You know, at this point, what you should do is just do a side by side, screening of both versions.
Oh my god, that would, and also
I mean, obviously, it'd be a little bit tricky because once the theatrical version ends, it's oh, I still got half of the Snyder Cut to watch.
Yeah, no, because you still have because the theatrical cut's an hour and 48 minutes without credits, and then it's 12 minutes of credits, and then the ending scene.
Still though. Yeah,
I know it's insane, but yeah, it's.
I also find it insanely funny how the after credit scene in the theatrical version was just in the fucking middle of the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
I just find that really funny how that entire shot, that entire scene, it was just in it was in the Snyder Cut, but in the theatrical version it's treated like it's a setup for another movie. What the fuck was up with that?
Right.
They literally just took
they literally reshot Jesse Eisenberg's scene to be in Justice League, but then it's in this one it's oh, hey, Deathstroke, here, Bruce Wayne is Batman's name. Go kill him for me. I have things I have to do.
Yeah, well,
which makes more sense.
It's depressing because there's not going to be payoff to that.
There might.
Oh, I guess we're getting out of the discussion to get here. A little snippet.
I am telling you, there is no. Because here's the thing. I guess we'll get into this now.
We're just all over the damn
map. This is the most successful thing on the streaming service, right?
Mm-hmm.
and these people who are like, oh well, this is the end. Like, we're done with the whole Snyder stuff. We're moving forward with the multiverse, right? Number one, I hate the multiverse idea because that means nothing matters.
Well,
Like,
it means that you can't have characters and stories bouncing off of each other.
exactly. Not only that, but here's the other thing too. The interview with those people that came out who like at Warner Brothers, like that interview was done before the Snyder Cut came out. And also they act like, oh, we were the ones who greenlit and we're so glad Zack could see his vision. No. AT&T was the one who said, no, we're going to do this. And if AT&T sees the numbers, which have come out as said, this is the biggest hit that HBO Max has had, this is like Game of Thrones level numbers, and the fact that Restore the Snyderverse has trended like multiple times and is like got a shit ton of shit, there's no way that like there's not at least discussions about it.
There damn well better be discussions because
the other thing too is like you're using the actors that Snyder cast. Like the Flash movie starts filming, I'm guessing, in a few weeks. You're and you're using Ezra Miller, who was cast by Snyder. Like, and also like because here's the thing. When all the actors signed on for Justice League, there's a reason Ben Affleck was producing the Batman movie at the time, is because all those actors had it in their contract that they were producers of their solo films. Ezra Miller is a producer on Flash, from what I understand. Ray Fisher would have been a producer on Cyborg. Gal Gadot is a producer on her Wonder Woman movies.
I did not know this.
Well, that was a big driving thing because the idea was, hey, we're going to allow this to be more creatively driven.
Well, and yeah, and that's how it should be. We should be letting, some minds with some ideas be able to throw their hat into the ring and give us something interesting and different. I feel like we should be encouraging filmmakers to really go above and beyond to just let their creativity flow and tell the stories that they want without giving remotely any fucks about demographics or trying to or worrying about like the end revenue.
Right. Well,
just, tell the stories that you want.
Right. Well, and then also like just like
and this direction that they were trying to go in was pushing for that.
Well, and then like I said, like also like I love how they're like, well, this is the conclusion of Zack's trilogy that ends on a cliffhanger. Yeah, that ends on a cliffhanger.
That like got fucking started. It's like you cannot just look us in the eye and tell us that Man of Steel, BVS, and this make up some.
Well, it was only the 5-movie plan.
Yeah, I know, and we're not done yet. Like that's my whole point. It's like we ain't fucking done yet. Like
restore the freaking Snyderverse. But also, can I just say, Barry Allen did not annoy me in this version.
Oh no,
this is a comment that I hate. This is a trend, not the Snyder. I'll get into it, but there's a trend I hate where you just use the comic relief character only as comic relief, and I don't understand why modern writers are doing that. Like, yes, in this movie, Barry Allen is the comic relief. Like most of the comedy comes from him, right?
Yeah. Unlike, Ben Affleck, who was wrongfully doing shtick in the theatrical version. Because
there's still a couple lines.
Fuck you, Joss.
There's still a couple lines in this where I'm like, like the "I'm rich" didn't work for me. But it's like that's such a nitpick that I don't care. Because he's still the BVS Batman.
Well, I always just treat that as just Bruce trying to have a little bit of levity because. The thing I find interesting about his character is the fact that he's someone that dedicates so much of his time, downsizing his humanity to just be focused on the mission.
Right.
But he still there are fleeting moments when he still tries to act human.
it's
And
still
I've always just interpreted as that like a poor attempt at his social skills.
right. No, and I totally get like, and again, that's just for me where I'm like, one or two lines, but like it's still like it's 99%. It's not worth getting upset about. You know what I mean? But like it's
I
just
do, but going kind of back to what you were saying about the like the comic relief character, like the thing that I just can't stand about them is that just makes them so one dimensional because
it makes
you're giving them a single like a single gimmick and basing everything that they do on screen around that gimmick. Where's their
well,
character? Where's their arc?
right. Well, and Barry's Allen introduction scene, where
Absolutely
he's
loved
like,
it.
where he's talking to the lady and like, oh, what is there a paper monster in my pocket or something? Like he's being awkward. Because I still believe that Ezra is playing Barry Allen as slightly autistic.
I can buy that.
Just from like maybe in that. But like what made me laugh was it wasn't him being awkward, it was the reaction shot of the pet store owner just grabbing the paper with this annoyed expression on her face of just like just give me the resume. Like that to me was funny because it was someone reacting, and also like he's not just the comic relief. Like again, he gets the save the cat moment of he gets to save Iris. Yay, he's a good person. We see him be awkward. We see him like save someone's life. Then we get to see him interact with his father because we got a little bit of like, his father killed his mother and all set
Yeah.
up for his solo movie. But also like Flash is the one to save the day. Like
Yeah, I mean,
that Speed Force moment.
I know, like who the fuck saw that coming?
Well, that was so good. And then when he's running, he's like, I want you to know that your kid was one of them, Dad. Like he was like, I was the best of the best. It's like, oh, he's living up like, oh, there's a character arc. There's a character here. And like when he gets shot, the way Ezra is like he's almost crying because he's in pain, where he's like, I need a sec, but he's trying to be like strong because he's still got to do his job. And like, he like that got me like not like where I was crying, but that kind of hit me as like an emotion of like, oh shit, he's really fucking hurt.
Well,
like
it really makes you feel for your characters when you can actually see them express.
exactly. And like
They don't just tell you how they're feeling, they fucking show you.
exactly. And then when he's like, I wish they would have set up him healing more, because like he's just like, gotta heal, Barry, gotta heal. I wish they had set that up a little more, but like again, and all the complaints I have are like little things where I'm like, I wish that could have been, but like nothing that affects the film really. But like,
No,
and I love the make your own future, make your own past.
yeah.
That was good. Can we talk about Superman a little bit?
Although I can't deny that line teeters really too fucking close to Terminator territory. Really fucking close.
Yeah, but like it still worked thematically.
No, don't get me wrong, it works, but when I heard that it's like, did you like, or who it's like, okay, who was the big Terminator fan? Because you basically just ripped off like the reoccurring line from those movies. What the
theme,
fuck?
yeah. Well, and then also like the whole, but yeah, and then like I like Ezra Miller's run in this a lot more than I did in the theatrical cut, because the theatrical cut it looked like he just couldn't run. Whereas this, like I know people are like, it's almost like, again, when he's doing the Speed Force stuff, it's almost like he's literally pulling time back. And like,
it's like it's almost like he's going on like a track.
Exactly.
But he's trying to do it but he's trying to reverse it in reverse.
No, it's yeah,
and it's you're like just seeing literally all of this, like everything just just pulling back with each like step that he's taking. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Right.
Like,
well,
he's hauling so much ass right now.
Oh yeah, no, and then like, and I love his like delivery of like, you got to break the rule, Barry. You got to break the rule. You got to go faster than the speed of light. And just that slow mo, just like him like first raising the arm, and you see it's great. Like, I know there are scenes in this movie where it's like 85, it's like 15% slowed down or whatever in some scenes, like with Lois walking.
Yeah, I think they said, I think a rough estimate that I heard was that 10% of the movie is slow motion.
Right. But honestly, it works.
Well, it makes for some very visually stimulating and intense scenes.
Mhm.
Like everything with Mary just looks so stunning to the eyes.
Oh God, yeah. Well, and then I want to talk about Superman,
Sure, go ahead.
real quick, because there is a thing in this that makes me hate the theatrical cut even more, is because I thought the theatrical cut, when it's like oh, you smell good, I thought that was a complete Joss reshoot. But it turns out what it was she didn't say you smell good. She said, you're talking now. And he's like, did I not before? Which I'm like, oh, so you, Joss, you took a dramatic moment and just put in a dumb joke for no reason. Like, you could have left that alone in the theatrical cut. You could have left that alone, and
But he needed to make the movie his own, Kyle.
No, because it says directed by Zack Snyder in the theater. That's what it says. God, but no. Well, and then also I love in the house when Clark's like, oh, my mom loved it here, and so did I. Like, he's reliving all the happy memories, and you do that slow pull out to like that swing, and I'm like, that's beautiful, and it means something, and it's well fucking done. And I will say, fuck, like, I'm gonna get passionate here, like, fuck the haters on this shit. Fuck the people who are like, well, you know, this is the same movie, it's got the same story. Which, first of all, it does not have the same story. Story is characters dealing with the plot. You mean it's got the same basic plot. Learn the difference between plot and story, you hack film critics who don't understand terminology of film. But it has the same basic plot. Batman has to assemble a team to stop Steppenwolf from invading. Yes, it's the same plot. The story is different because we get to see how the characters deal with that differently. Okay?
Yeah, we get a lot of different moments between these two versions, and both of them contextualize their characters and contextualize those moments in two very different ways. And it fucking shows.
Right.
Where in the theatrical version you're getting a lot of strange scenes that seem very out of place or seem just unnecessary and have a tone and meaning to them that seems very out of place, but it's here, so we have to put up with it. But then we watch the Snyder Cut and it's like, oh, a lot of those scenes that felt familiar are completely different now because
they got
the look of them is different, the tone and context of them is different. And for a lot of the footage that we don't get to see, that was unique to his vision. It's like it really adds a lot of extra meaning and depth to those familiar moments, because not only are we seeing those done in a different context, but seeing how that stacks up with the rest of those moments with the rest of the story. It's like, wow, this is like two very different films, but they're so similar. But the Snyder Cut is the superior version because the story that you're getting is more meaningful and impactful, because you're not only getting to see the full concise picture, but it also just seems like it had like there's a flow to it. And I don't feel like this, like I don't feel the weight of 4 hours on me as I'm watching this film.
No, you don't.
I'm just seeing the story unfold, and I'm as interested as I am excited to see what happens. Like I was there for every step of this thing, and never once wondering, oh fuck, when is this going to be over? I was interested. Like I was like, okay, what's going to happen next? Like what are we going to see next?
And then also like the great example you can see is like compare like the theatrical scene of like Lois and Martha versus the Snyder Cut scene of Lois and Martha. In the theatrical cut, we get to see Martha call Lois a whore. Because she's like, you were the thirstiest reporter that Clark had ever seen. And it's like...
Well, that's just I liked that because that was just a
Also,
really funny.
how do you shoot Amy Adams terribly, Joss? How do you make Amy Adams not look amazing? Like you remember in the theatrical cut where like he overexposes the image and it's super light and he's got like for like she looks pale and he's got her in this blue like button up shirt in like what the hell are you doing? But like in this like it's color corrected right and again like Amy Adams is a gorgeous woman.
Oh yeah, she's a beautifully adorable woman.
Yeah, no, like fucking like I again like she's a great pick for fucking Lois, but I just like it blows my mind that like you had this scene. Like why even if you cut like let's say that you have to cut the Martian Manhunter stuff in the theatrical version of like you know what I mean? Like even if you had to cut that, why not just use that scene? Like it just blows my mind this idea of like you shot so much of like bullshit and you brought these people back to shoot nonsense.
Well, it should have been like what I'm thinking. It's like it shouldn't have been trying to take what Zack filmed, butcher it, and try to repackage it. It should have been more of a collaborative effort to try to work together, work with him to finish to finish his vision.
Right.
It should not have been taking what he had made, trying to salvage it and read and just revamp it to make it something that you would think would people would enjoy and would want to see. No, work with him to fucking finish the thing. Like, okay, so he didn't want to be there to actually, finish working on it because I mean he was dealing with a personal tragedy. It's not every day that someone has to deal with something like that, let alone losing their own child.
Right.
Not that I want to get too much into that,
Right.
but I mean he went through a very immense personal tragedy, so we could understand why he needed time to.
And a studio and a producer, Jeff Johns, and all these other people took advantage of that and brought in a different director to recut and re-edit and reshoot the movie because they saw profit because they said, well, hey, this guy did Avengers, like let's fucking like it just it boggles the mind because like
it was immensely disrespectful and well, it was immensely disrespectful to not only to Zack but also just the film as a whole. Like this was his project, and they just kind of spat on that and just fucked with it however they saw.
Because there's at a certain point it's hard to course correct at a certain point, quote unquote. Like let's okay. The reaction to BVS theatrical cut was mixed, to say the least, right? But you were already going into shooting Justice League. He had already shot principal photography. There's nothing you can do at that point.
No.
You kind of just got to bite the bullet. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, and that's what I'm getting at. Like, it should have been a collaborative effort to work with him to finish it while he's, again, maybe wait a little while, but then work with him, consult with him.
Right.
And get some people to do the rest of the legwork, but under his direction.
Right.
That's what it should have been about, was finishing the project, even though he couldn't personally be there to fulfill it himself.
Like, here's the thing. The DC movies are going to be more historically important to the history of film than the Marvel movies ever will be. From their highs to their fucking lows of the Justice League theatrical cut. Like, if somebody is not working on a documentary about the making of this and the push for the fans to get this Snyder Cut released,
somebody needs to.
Somebody fucking needs to. Like, this is like just
hell, we could do it.
I would love to do that. I've just never made a documentary before. But
I mean, I want to get more into documentaries, so who knows?
But no, I'm just saying, like, it blows my mind that like it's blatant. Like, you watch the Snyder Cut and then you watch the theatrical cut, and you're like, how do you get this from that?
Yes, how do you get such studio corporate fuckery that you get?
I did want to ask you though,
Sure.
Why did they reshoot Mara with an American accent? Because in the Snyder Cut, she's British.
I don't know. I attribute a lot of the fucking changes that went into that just being like I almost want to treat it as from my understanding, because I have a little bit of like a small glimpse into into the bullshit that went into all of this, and a good chunk of it was the studio wanted to do reshoots and basically recut the film because they were not content with they were not even remotely content with the idea of releasing a 3 to 4 hour movie, let alone just like they weren't at too like they were pleased with what he was doing, but they were not pleased with the runtime.
Right.
And obviously, just
But why?
a
Why?
matter of
But it's,
and then just a matter of timing stepped up, and so Zack had to step away. And then the studio was like, okay, well, we still need to get this out the door. So then it just became a thing of okay, now we need to hire a different filmmaker to finish the rest of production, and then we want to do reshoots and then recut the film. And then I treat a lot of those edits to boil down to just like George Lucas delusional fuckery, where it's just like you took something that already looked pretty solid in its current state, but you had to fuck with it because you just felt it needed to be fixed. Not you weren't thinking about what audiences were thinking. You were thinking in your own individual mind that this particular change would make the movie better. Like
you sounded a little bit like Jeff Goldblum. You like before you even knew what you had, you packaged it and patented it, and you put it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. I don't know. You just reminded me of Jeff Goldblum.
oh man, if only like, I had the grace and I guess
You got the
charm.
glasses.
I got the glasses, but I am far from having the grace and witticism of somebody like
I do want to add. Okay. So all the people who complained about this movie, the Justice League movie shouldn't be rated R. It's like there really wasn't much in this that like I will say this. Everyone flipped out when they found out that Batman's gonna say fuck.
Like, well, and to that I say, who fucking cares?
Right. My thing is that
Like,
there was only one curse that really kind of felt unearned, and that was when Cyborg's like "fuck the world."
I was thinking the exact same thing.
To me, that was the one. I'm like, I feel like
I understand you're trying to be all serious right now, but damn dog, you don't gotta be that serious.
well, it didn't feel earned because like we had just seen him be like he gave $100,000 to that woman, and it's like fuck the world, and why help? Like
yeah, it's like we just had this long extended sequence of you honing your abilities and really figuring out what you're capable of, and then using that to help somebody who was in need. And you and it's like it seemed like this was a whole new. It's like you now you're burdened, your burden curse of this new lease on life. Now has some hope, has some optimism to it. It's like I mean we literally get to see him take to the skies with just this biggest grin on his face that he is so much more than he is so much more than he ever was.
You know, I'm not broken, I'm not alone. Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's like it's like he realizes that he has the potential to do extraordinary things to help people, and he can do so much with that. And you literally get to see it in his face. You get to just see it in what he does. But then, you know, a little bit later, we then just get he then just seems to do a complete 180 in what he says, and it's like, dude, like who the fuck hurt you?
Right. But it's just for that one scene. But Batman and
Batman
going back to like was amazing.
Oh, we'll get to that, but I was gonna say like the R-rated thing. Like I didn't feel like this doesn't feel like an R-rated movie. This felt like a hard PG-13.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's weird.
Aside from the swears, like the violence wasn't that bad.
Well, like they show blood because that's the thing. Like it has to just be the blood.
Yeah, and I mean like. I think, and then I think maybe some parademons get dismembered here and there, but I mean they're fucking aliens, so who cares? And then I know that that Green Lantern that gets decapitated a little bit, but I mean that was small potatoes in my eyes. Like nothing made me go like, oh shit, in my chair. It was just like, oh, I mean, yeah, this is a little edgier. This is a little bit more violent and intense. Definitely a lot more fucking violent than we'll ever get in a Marvel movie. Let's be honest.
Well, and that's what I liked. That's what I liked.
It doesn't pull punches.
Right. Well, and the thing is too, like I've seen people who are like, "Oh yeah, this movie about a great alien invading Earth, we have to take seriously." Yeah, like the universe takes it. This universe takes itself more seriously. Just like there are other universes that are more goofy. Like, yeah, if this was the Justice League barn animal version, then I would agree with you that maybe you shouldn't take it seriously. But
But when
but
but in this,
Snyder's universe has established that tone. Like,
that when, when aliens or like a major threat shows up, like shit's getting real.
well, but I'm saying like the universe itself we've established. Like Man of Steel was a darker, somber film. BVS definitely was. You know that you know like you've established that these characters are more darker, somber. Like you can have a discussion about whether or not you think that's a good interpretation, but this universe has established its rules.
Yeah, and
So
once
like
you've established those rules, then you need to make sure that you stick by them as you tell your stories, regardless of what they are.
exactly, like
Whatever you decide to have your characters doing, it needs to play to the rules that have been established. You can't
exactly
just change it.
when Batman and Robin, that movie is a cartoon. It plays by cartoon rules.
Hmm.
The Dark Knight is trying to be a realistic crime drama, so it plays like a realistic crime drama. Like,
Yeah, that's why whenever you try to do like these compare and contrasts, or try to do like these deconstructions about how it's like you don't really seem to. It's like a lot of people seem to miss the mark, and don't seem to realize that that these types of movies are playing to a very specific set of guidelines, a very specific set of rules.
mhm,
And depending on what that film it is, that I could either could do really well or terrible with that sort of thing. But I mean, yeah, Batman's a great example of that. I mean, something akin to like the Joel Schumacher stuff. Those are fucking cartoons.
right,
Like, they do not. It's like nothing is serious. Nothing is of going to be of huge consequence, and it's really just fun. It's just
right. Well,
dumb,
they
fun
compare that to
shenanigans.
the '60s show too, where
Exactly. Yeah.
like and that universe
Like
makes sense.
after Well, I mean, that was just the direction of the times, because I actually saw a very interesting video essay that did a deep dive talking about Batman Forever,
Mhm.
and it definitely made me understand that movie a lot more different than I think I've ever understood it. And I'm not going to say that I appreciate it now, but I definitely understand it better than I had before, especially knowing how much fucking footage was cut.
Right. Well, and the thing is too, like that
Like
fucking
Schumacher had a fucking vision, and
that
we
fucking
haven't get to see it.
release the Schumacher cut. No, but
Yeah, like I would love to see that, but getting back on track, it's like, that was, playing to a specific a set of guidelines, and it did that remarkably well within that. And then, yeah, you jump ahead like another several years, and you get to see something like Batman Begins and the entire Nolan trilogy.
mhm,
Like those were more grounded. Those were not like absurd and over the top. They kept everything heavily grounded in reality. Everything that you saw in those stories is something that could feasibly
mhm,
happen. Like
right.
you could be dealing with, civil unrest because of chemical weapons. You could be dealing with it's like you could be dealing with a literal domestic terrorist just burning down everything
Right.
that steps into his way.
Well, and
And
then
you could be dealing with radical extremists that want to blow up an entire fucking city because fuck crime, I guess.
right. Well, and the thing is too, like
That was realistic.
yeah. Well, that was a realistic that world played more realistic. The
So then you
Snyderverse
jumped.
plays the Snyderverse plays more like epic and
Yeah,
more comic movie. Yeah.
it's massively about the spectacle.
Right. Exactly.
Another, like, because I mean, you look at a lot of like the cinematography and the shots alone;
Oh my
those
god.
look like living comic book panels
Oh
at
yeah.
times.
No, they're amazing. But yeah, that's what I'm saying is like people complaining that like, oh well, the movie takes itself seriously. We've established the rules of this universe. Like
Right?
so, like
You just
that's
expect
like
it not to.
that's like going in. It's like going into a Marvel movie, being like, wait a minute. There's jokes in this. Like
Well, I mean,
fucking course. Like, what did you expect?
well, to be fair, over the last several years, they have been doubling down on the humor more than they fucking
Oh
should.
god, they fucking
In
that.
the beginning, they were pretty tame about it, but as time passed, it became worse.
Well, the comedy in the beginning, the comedy came from the characters. Now the comedy's
Yeah,
just whatever we can throw out.
yeah. It doesn't matter who the fuck is saying it. It's like if we can throw just like the
Doesn't
most
matter
like
the scene. It doesn't matter the context. It doesn't matter if this is supposed to be a quiet moment or not. We have to make sure
that
we
there
can
is
take
levity everywhere.
We can take nothing seriously.
Yeah, we could have like yeah, I mean like think of like any of like the major battles in like any of like the MCU movies, especially like the Avengers films. And between like all the beats of action, you just have characters constantly quipping and
Well,
making
that's
remarks like nothing is on the fucking line here.
and
Like
that's
you're
what I like.
telling us
Right. Well, and that's one of the things I keep praising about Barry in the Snyder Cut is that when he gets fucking hit, he gets fucking hit, and he's fucking like emotional, and he's in pain, and like the Justice League loses.
yeah,
They
like
lose, and then Barry has to fix shit.
that's another thing I loved about that is we actually for a brief fraction of a moment get to see the heroes lose.
Yep.
Like most other like story like stories with heroes or even like just superheroes wouldn't have the balls to do something like that.
Well, like
Except, but when a movie does do that, they then, overstay its welcome by dragging it out by wasting it over the span of two movies that make up about 5 hours of a viewing experience.
where everyone's still jokey and quippy, and
Where everyone's still joking and quipping even after half of the fucking universe gets just iced.
right,
Or sorry, removed from existence.
right. Well, and then, yeah, like fucking like that was the thing, like like
But in this, it's like when shit's going sideways, the shit's
also,
going sideways, and our
I
characters
love I
acknowledge
love
that.
Wonder Woman's new theme. The with the
Yeah, well, to be fair, like, let's give a shout out to Tom Hulkenberg. He
oh
once
my
again
god,
delivers. He is seriously one of the best composers of the last like several of like the last decade. It's
yeah.
like I don't think we give him enough love for how
I
kick-ass of
I
the
I,
kick-ass the
I
score to Fury Road is.
fucking I want his score on vinyl. I want to pick that shit up.
You'll probably I'm here's hoping that we get it because I know they are still slowly creeping out with a media sorry not a media a merchandising push for this iteration of the film.
Well, and then
Like
also
I know
like
McFarlane Toys is doing figures. I know a couple other companies are doing merch based on this movie, and then I know Hot Toys
yeah,
is doing a limited set that contains the Nightmare Batman and the black suited Superman, which
which I love the
I
black suit.
I love both of these figures. Like I kind of just want this set. I'm looking at a picture of it right now because it's fucking awesome. I'll
I
probably
might
put
I
it
might
on
I
the
might
screen
I
here
might I might I might use it
for
when I get paid. But
hey, 515 isn't a bad price for what you're getting. I mean, you're not only getting a limited edition set, but you're getting like this feels like a piece of history right here. Like it
oh
is
yeah,
a limited edition set based on an event that was years in the making.
oh god, yeah. Well, and then
So it was
I want to kind of wrap up our thoughts really quick. But before we do,
yeah,
I want
because
to
we
talk.
were all over the fucking place with this.
I know. Well, we're just excited because like this is a
Well,
great
speaking
movie.
of Nightmare Batman, did you want to talk about
Yes, I
the
want to talk
Wonder?
about the nightmare
Yes, let's
scene.
talk about the
I
Nightmare.
want to talk about the nightmare scene because I love the nightmare stuff, and it's great.
Yes, that's like that was one of my favorite
I love
moments in BVS. Like I
well,
loved that fucking scene in
well,
BVS of
and
just getting to the
here's my thing.
yes. Go ahead.
Some people are like, why is Batman having dreams of the future, right? And I wonder, and I have a theory, and I want to run this past you because this is my headcanon.
Okay.
In BVS, when Flash opens the time portal, um, Bruce is the only normal human exposed to the Speed Force. And the reason that he is having dreams about the future is because the Speed Force is making him live memories that he hasn't lived yet. And if we do get a sequel to this, what will happen is Bruce will have a third and final vision, which will be Lois's death by Darkseid and Superman turning right before it happens. Because I think what we're doing is the memories are going back while Bruce is going forward, and they're going to merge, and
There's
he's
gonna
going
be
to
a
have that vision right before it happens.
and then it's like now or never. It's kind of like I almost kind of treat it like Raiden in Mortal Kombat 9 where he has a premonition where his future self sends a vision of his to his past self to kind of illustrate how bleak and fucked up the future looks for them.
Mm-hmm.
The one where they lose. So and his past self basically has to work off of that to prevent that doomed fate from happening. So it's kind of like a similar thing of that where it's like by some means, probably the Speed Force. I'd believe that is somehow he's getting these premonitions of the future, that are actually real memories of what's to come,
Right.
and it's all building up to that colliding moment that merges that
Well,
future with the
well, and
present.
that moment where Cyborg is in the ship and he sees all the visions.
Yeah,
Right. Well, and
all that
then
wonderful stuff.
I love that the ship goes, the future is now rooted in the past, or the future is rooted in the present.
Mhm.
Because that's basically the movie saying, all right, we're building to the nightmare world.
Well, yeah, well, I felt what the implication with that there was is that what's going to happen is going to happen. It seems to imply that because what I think would be interesting is what if this was the future that actually happens? Like,
Right.
just stick with me here because I'm kind of bouncing off of what you were talking about.
Okay.
What if we do get that colliding moment where we do get to see that breaking point for Superman? I mean, the death of Lois Lane. Yeah, not a good time for anybody, for anyone. But what if we get that moment and that is the future that our heroes are thrust into? Like, what if uh say like an hour and a half, like maybe just like the entire like latter half of the movie
Hmm.
is them in that dystopian future trying to unfuck it by trying to like find some means, not necessarily time travel, but some means of basically undoing all of that.
I think you got to do time travel. Like the fact that the Flash is alive.
I'm not like saying like just not what I mean. Yes, you can have time travel, just don't be Avengers Endgame about it.
Oh yeah, yeah. No.
That's what I'm saying. That's basically what
But
I'm getting at. Don't make it some like big.
have your time travel rules make no fucking sense.
Well, what I'm saying is just like don't make your entire plot revolve around it.
Right.
Like the mission should be okay. We need to find some way to unfuck the future that we are currently
Well,
living in.
and kind of going, and I agree with you, and kind of going with like some like, um, I like the fact that like Joker makes reference to different timelines. Like this is a comic booky universe.
Yeah,
Like, people are like, oh yeah, of course there's aliens and gods and time travel and different timelines. Like the fact that they're just like, yeah, no, like this is what DC is.
it's just constant. It's like you think Marvel Comics gets fucking weird. It's like
Oh
DC.
god, yeah, no,
DC reboots its fucking universe every couple of years. What do you want from like us or
exactly.
them? They
Superboy
are constantly hitting the fucking reboot button like it's going out of style.
Superboy Prime punched the wall of reality, which reset everything. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, fuck's sake, the animated movies are doing it too now.
Yep.
Like Flashpoint Paradox was the first reset, and the after Justice League Dark Apocalypse, like
Yeah.
they fucking reboot the entire universe again. It's like they don't like they just do this shit like it's just like it's mandatory.
Is it reboot Wednesday already?
It's like we've hit our
But like,
threshold. It's
no,
been a couple of years. But yeah, it's not at its best. It's not afraid to embrace the fucking weird,
right.
and I like that.
No, and then
Uh,
I
which
love
is why
Jared.
I think it would be cool if we were to get a full story, like not a full story where part of the plot is our heroes, thrust into this terrible future, this terrible fate that they have to find some way to undo. Because for me, from a writing stand, like from I guess a filmmaking and writing standpoint, it would be really interesting to show these iconic characters and how far, and just show them at their lowest point, fallen from grace, trying to find solace in each other and trying to pull themselves back together to enough to prevent all of this misfortune happening to them. Like imagine the kinds of scenes and character moments you can get having these broken former shells of their of these legendary heroes and villains turned reluctant anti-heroes or allies just having to work together and find some way to save the world.
Well, and I love
Can you imagine how fucking cool of a story that would be?
right. That would well, especially with the whole Deathstroke thing.
Yeah, like exactly. Like just seeing this little like band of like fallen heroes and former villains working together. I want to see a movie of that.
Yeah.
I want to see more of that. And by far, like the cherry on top was Jared Leto coming back as the Joker. Just that exchange, his monologue and his exchange with Batman was some of the it's like I think was some of the best interaction between those two characters I've seen recently.
Well, I just like the when he's like, "I will fucking kill you." Like
Yeah,
that.
well, that's kind of what kind of ties into this whole like thing that I find interesting because it like really shows how fucking far he's fallen.
Did you notice? Did you notice in like Cyborg's vision of the future where he sees like Superman holding decapitated Batman?
Yeah.
Did you notice that the Joker card flies by the screen and it's ripped in half?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like,
Yeah, like that. I think that would be
I
interesting.
want the
Like,
nightmare world so fucking bad.
well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not necessarily sure how you would structure that story, but I want some heavy, like, I would want some heavy punches in that story. Like, I want people to fucking die. I want this to be a suicide mission to, like, basically like to fix the future. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna be. It's basically could be like a dystopian Suicide Squad, but with the heroes. It's
Well,
like we
that's
are
why
gonna
I
be.
mean that's what I like to see. I mean, honestly, like that's probably what the idea is because we know Harley at least survives enough into the future.
Mhm.
If,
But then
if
die tragically, and then in her final
right,
moments, just ask that Bruce promised to fucking
you know,
her.
and I'm gonna do it slowly.
And I don't mean that like in a negative way. I just found that interesting that, like, that though we don't get to see it, we're just told about it that they apparently developed enough of a connection that she could confide in him in her final moments
Oh
to
yeah,
ask make a big request of him. And that's like the little bits and pieces of that really interest me, and why I would love to see that more fleshed out, because I just like that premise of these characters not being like their normal selves,
right.
having to ally with each other to work together in these very dire times. Like it, I'm just I feel like I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, but because I'm just thinking about how cool of an idea that would be on paper for just a story in general,
Yeah,
where
no, well,
heroes of like, because it would break the mold of like the heroes always saving the day. It's like, what if you got a story where not only heroes lose, but the
and also
heroes then
like
have to.
I think Snyder knows how to do evil Superman.
Yeah, well, oh yeah, I would love to see evil Superman, and that's what I kind of felt like the Nightmare stuff was building to the second we saw like snippets of it
Oh yeah,
in Dawn of Justice's promotional like trailers and stuff. Like I could clearly tell, like, oh, somebody really liked Injustice, wanted to like kick that dial up to like 11.
yeah,
Because see, like in Injustice, you understand why Superman is the authoritative dictator that he is. He lost the one person that meant everything to him, like that was his universe essentially, and to make sure that the world didn't feel that kind of pain, he had to basically strong arm it into being peaceful.
right,
To save the world from itself and from enduring the same kind of pain that he went through, he made it so that, nobody made it so that nothing bad like there aren't any direct conflicts, and if there are, he's going to eliminate them without a second thought. But you understand where he's coming from. You
right.
see where this former legendary god amongst man, this hero of the people, like you understand
He
where
lost
like
how you understand how he lost his way.
yeah, you understand that, and it
Well, because
really adds to how interesting those stories are in
I'm
the first
pretty
game and the sequel.
right.
So I would very much love to see how Snyder could tackle that in his universe.
I think, I mean, honestly, I think it's the anti-life question. I think because I mean, we see Darkseid going over to Superman after Lois. He's holding Lois's body, so I think what happens is probably, you know, Lois is dead, Superman's vulnerable, Darkseid anti-life equation. Come on, Doc. So,
Or
or what if?
what if there is no actual equation, and the anti-life is actually more of a key, if you will, and that
Oh,
key happens to be named Lois Lane.
She's the key.
And by killing her, the key to all of this, the equation, then Earth is fucked.
Exactly.
Because without her, then there's no Superman, and without Superman, shit's gonna go sideways real fast.
Right.
I mean, that's just like tinfoil hat thinking, but imagine, like, that'd be a hell of a twist.
Oh hell yeah.
It's like it was never like a bit of like ancient scribed writing, but what if it was actually more of a prophecy, like a premonition, a person who would be the only thing stringing, basically keeping a literal god amongst man's feet firmly planted on the ground, and without her, we lose that, and by extension, we lose the world. I think that would be really cool. I don't know if Snyder would be thinking that, or if that would somehow be in the cards for what he's planning, if he thankfully gets to make the movie. or the
Well,
sequels.
I think there's at least going to be discussions. We'll
Yes, I'm hoping that there will be discussions because I mean, it's still the movie's still trending. People are still talking about it. I mean, shit, we're talking about it a week after
right.
a fucking week after it came out because it's just such a fascinating watch and it's such a fascinating viewing. And I feel like let's keep the volume up because there's so much to discuss. There's so much to dissect.
Mhm.
But I feel like if we do got to wrap it up, it's only fair to kind of say like let's maybe summarize what we do like at most like what we
Uh,
did and didn't like. So
I like
starting with the good. Would you?
I like the characters. I like the story. I like the color timing. I liked that Snyder was allowed to. I also like that the league got along. Like there wasn't like a lot of infighting. Um,
Yes, thank you for that very unwelcome change, Joss.
yeah, yeah,
Good on you.
yeah. No, I things I didn't like. There really wasn't a lot I didn't like. I mean, like maybe one or two lines of dialogue. I kind of I understand what it's there, but I wish they could have. I wish we didn't need Wonder Woman's narration over the history lesson. Like I think that could have been. I feel like that could have been done just with the visuals, but you know maybe I'm wrong. Um, Aside from that, those are the only things I really. And there, it's not even things I didn't like. It's just like nitpicks and stuff. But I mean, I give this movie like a 9.9.5. Like I think it's just an absolute brilliant film.
Okay. Well, I mean that's still very glowing. More than we can say for the theatrical. For me, I don't really think I have any like specific moments that I really or things that I loved. I just love the overall package here. I mean, the story was more interesting and gripping. I love how the characters are portrayed in this story. They actually feel like they all have they all feel like they actually have more uh, character, more personality, and just more time and interact with each other. It actually feels like there are these people of all these different backgrounds and walks of life coming together for a similar goal and having to not only get to know each other but to work together to accomplish that goal is very interesting to see over the course of the entire journey. Uh, the cinematography was pretty awesome. I can definitely I love myself a goal 4:3 aspect ratio.
Oh yeah.
Keeping it's like going old school. It's like not everything's in fucking widescreen, so it was very enjoyable to get something a little bit more old fashioned, just nice and contained. But I also really do think that the aspect ratio works really good because it really does just show off the epicness and scale of characters and just a lot of moments in the film. So I really liked that. I love the score. Tom Hulkenberg is one of my favorite composers, and I never get tired of listening to his work.
Oh, yeah.
I yeah, I hope they make like a vinyl or make like a full like complete album because his composition is choice stuff, and it's like no disrespect to Danny Elfman, you're great, but given the tone that Snyder is going for in his universe, Tom is the guy is his guy, and he does kick ass work. So I really love the score for the film.
Oh yeah.
Um, I love the performances. Everyone did a really kick ass job. Like I felt like nobody really did worse than the other or better. It's just like everyone.
I'm gonna miss Billy Crabbit in the Flash movie.
Yeah, I am too. I
But
mean, maybe Rod Livingston won't
I
be
don't
as
think
good.
he'll be. I think he'll be good, but it's just like
I wouldn't be surprised if nobody noticed. I wouldn't be surprised either. Like it's like hey who it's like oh that's his all right that's his dad.
Oh, yeah.
but but yeah, everyone did a really kick-ass job, especially getting to see more of J.K. Simmons' take on Jim Gordon. That was especially awesome. I
Did you
love that
notice
he
the
had
mutants?
the what? Yes, I did. I did. I love again. I love the fucking nod to the Dark Knight Returns
Yep.
from just a lot of the shots to some nice nods in the film, just within the actual movie itself, and then getting to see just one of the closing shots of Bats just standing on the fucking Batmobile.
Mm-hmm.
So fucking cool.
Uh,
Like I wish he could have actually driven it though. That's just more of that's a nitpick though. Just it's cool to get to see him stand on it, but I would have liked to see him actually pilot it maybe in one of the sequels.
maybe
Uh
he's got to use it in the Nightmare timeline. that has to be used.
Yes. Like, no, maybe here's like more tinfoil. What if that was like his last stand? What if what if like during like part of their big plan is like they need to like they need to distract Superman. So Bats decides to sacrifice himself by going out in a very blaze of glory by trying to take him on with the
You
Batmobile.
think you think he'll do like the still purrs, just like it was yesterday.
Yes! That would make me so happy. And then if you could just throw in the kids these days, it's like no respect line, that would also be really cool.
It just fucking just like, he's taunting Superman. You don't get it, son. This isn't a desert. It's an operating table. And I'm the surgeon.
Yeah, like I think geez, you're just selling me on my own fan fiction right now. But I think that would be like really cool, just like to see him
I would
like,
well and I'm sure eventually we would have gotten a Robin.
oh yeah, I'm pretty confident too, and of that as well. And here's hoping maybe they'll consider Carrie Kelly. Like, I mean, getting to see Robin is going to be cool no matter who it is. But personally, I'd love to see Carrie Kelly.
Oh hell yeah! Well, and then also like I'm sure Lois is pregnant. Like they pretty much all but established it.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll just wait and see what happens with that. Let's just hope that they don't go 100 like 1-to-1 with Injustice, because it was already one thing when Lois died, but knowing that she was with child when that fucking happened,
Yeah,
it's so much
well,
worse.
well, from what I heard, originally Snyder wanted Superman and Lois's kid to be the next Batman.
Oh,
So
that seems like an interesting horse to bet on in terms of your.
well, and
your
again,
thoughts into
this isn't really spoiler because Snyder has said that the story evolved from like originally.
Oh yeah, I know, and it's definitely not. And if it does get made, or when it gets made, it's definitely not what was concepted. Is not going to probably be what we end up seeing. But that's still an interesting idea, though. I'm just trying to think like how that would work in terms of actual execution in tandem with the story. But that's really just more speculation in the back of my mind. But yeah, getting back on track. I know people are, like, say that it's unnecessary, but I actually liked the epilogue because I just really
the epilogue was good.
I just fucking love the nightmare scene. Come on, all right.
No, the nightmare scene is great. I'm on your side.
I love people need to stop shitting on, like, okay, fine, it's an extra like 30 minutes onto the runtime, but that nightmare sequence is just so fucking cool.
Well, and the fact that
I just love the concept. I just love the concept. I know people love to shit on that specifically because it also just reiterates to people's idea of like, but Batman doesn't kill. It's like, it's a fucked up.
Batman does kill, and
aside from what he did in the present, let's not forget, like, this is a fucked up future. We don't know what he's seen or what he's had to do. That's made him now, sporting a gap.
I'm wondering what happened to the extra Joker scenes because they happen in a different. Yeah. So.
Like we just gotta wait and see, but I'm just thinking about more of like the nightmare stuff because I really want to see more of that.
Well, and Leto said he'd come back as Joker.
And I want to see him come back because
I thought he was actually really good.
I think what the key here was just he needed the right writing and direction to go off of, and I felt Snyder was the guy to give him what he needed to really get something interesting out of that character.
Right.
I felt like with in Suicide Squad they had something interesting there. It's just something got lost in translation that kind of screwed it up. But in this case,
chopped up the movie.
Okay, you know what I mean though. But in this case, it's like, oh, there's actually some writing and direction that seems on point, that seems focused, and by extension, you get a really interesting performance for like one of the most interesting moments in that I've seen in a film, especially a comic book film, and just a comic book film like this. Like it makes me want to see more of this character and the kind of like I really want to see like the shit that they went through. Like you feel like so much in their look, how they all look so tired and worn out, and just how they speak to each other. It really makes me interested to see like what the fuck happened to all of you. What did you go through that put you that made you the way that you are?
Who did Superman burn alive?
Yeah, like I want to know like what the fuck all happened.
What did he do to Arthur?
No, Darkseid killed Arthur.
No, that was just an Atlantean.
I thought it was
Because
Arthur.
Mara said, "Let the bastard come." I'll stick
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I'm getting my frames all mixed up. And then
So I'm like, what did he do to Arthur?
Yeah, well, what did he do to Arthur?
Did
Although
he
I'm
throw
kinda,
Arthur into the sun?
fuck, that'd be a bitch. Well, I'm trying to wondering like what happened to Diana too, because it's like we just see her being cremated in a cultural in a traditional funeral, but it's like makes me wonder like how'd they get her?
Did you notice Darkseid sitting on the throne watching
Yeah,
on the
I
ship? That was
did.
so cool. But no,
But moving on to like the stuff that I didn't like, nothing that would really be worth mentioning. I don't really have any like genuine criticisms that I feel are worth mentioning, and I don't really have any nitpicks that are worth bringing up because they're just so minute. It's not even worth mentioning. It's like I all around really liked this film, and I want and I feel like this movie it took this movie for me to finally understand and appreciate Zack Snyder's vision with his universe with these takes on those characters
right.
and the overall stories that he's going with. I didn't fully get it in Dawn of Justice. I didn't fully get it in Man of Steel. Uh, but I got it with this, and it really makes me now like have an appreciation for all of this stuff in a way that I never had before, and it makes me very not very interested, but also very optimistic about what the future holds. Because if he by some miracle can get the sequels made, who knows what kind of direction this can pave for DC movies moving forward, but just what that could do for comic book movies in general.
Oh yeah,
And
like the fact,
also, like the possibilities that could just mean for film in general.
oh yeah,
Because if we could be living in a world where directors get final cuts,
like the '70s again.
like imagine the fucking stories that we would get.
Oh my
Runtimes don't matter. Studio meddling like is not a problem. It's just filmmakers get to tell the stories that they want. We
Yeah.
get to see unfiltered, uncompromised visions.
Yeah.
Like I want to live in a world where we can just tell the stories that we want without having to settle, without
Right.
having to tarnish our work and the crystal clear image that we built.
Also, we need to get rid of the MPAA.
We really fucking do. I feel like
There's no reason like this could have been this could have been PG-13.
this is like a hard PG-13. I mean, at this point, we are such a desensitized world that just saying the word "fuck" means nothing anymore.
Right.
Like seriously, you could say
unless when Batman does it.
Apparently, unless like the Dark Knight himself says the word "fuck," I guess that's
then the internet loses its goddamn mind.
No, but the thing is, I like that line. It doesn't come off as like edgy. It just comes off.
That's what. But we talked about like the Cyborg one doesn't work for me because it feels out of character. The Batman one makes sense, where he's like, "I will fucking kill you."
Well, yeah, I feel that that's a good case where, well, I mean, where your character's using profanity in a very impactful way because it really goes to show how fucking serious they are. Mm-hmm. Most people, it's like when we use, like, I mean, for shit's sake, we're doing it right now. We're just, constantly just throwing obscenities like fucking shit left and right, like it's nothing because that's just part of our normal dialogue. It has no weight and meaning. So when you get obscenity from a character in a moment like that, they're being fucking serious.
Oh, yeah.
That this is a statement that I'm being completely fucking clear with you that when the time comes, I'm going to fucking kill you.
Right.
Like you almost kind of feel a little shook by that because you're like, God damn, he's not fucking around.
Yeah, no, this Batman is scary.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the point. I really want to see more of that, especially in that nightmare setting.
Right.
I think that would be so cool. Yeah. But yeah, overall, I love this film. I kind of hope that I really hope that the sequels get greenlit. I hope that they do like a physical a run for this because I would love to.
They talked about. I think they said like in May or something they're gonna do.
Yes, please. Yes, I really hope that they do some type of distribution.
I don't do like a 4K. Really, I know they're gonna do the colored version and the black and white version.
Okay, well, I mean, if I have to buy it, like,
if you can, the black and white version is better, I think.
Okay, I can check. I still have to check that one out.
Justice is.
Speaking of which, what were like quickly? What? So you say that's just the better version? Like nothing? Like no other thoughts on that?
No, it was. I think the cinematography looks better in the black and white. I mean, I sent you the photo when I was.
Yeah, you did.
It really makes the film. Doc, hi. Doc wants to say hi. But yeah, no, it makes the film, I think, pop more, ironically. So
I like well, I mean, when you're desaturating all the color, it tends
no,
to just
but I'm just saying, like, I think it looks better
Oh,
because
no, I get what you mean. I mean, there are just some movies that do look good, if not better, in black and white. I mean, look at the noir cut of Logan.
oh right, exactly, or even like Fury Road.
Yeah, exactly. Like the black like the black and chrome edition, I believe is what
Right.
the version is what they call it. It's like the entire movie in black and white with only the music in the background. It's like that in itself is a completely different viewing experience and a cool one.
Yeah.
Uh, but but yeah, that's really cool. I'm looking forward to them doing distribution because I don't care if it's digital or if I can get a Blu-ray. Like I just want a copy of that to put on my shelf so I
Yeah.
can just pick it up and watch it whenever. And I would love to see the behind the scenes on this,
No, I would too.
like the proper making of this
I
film.
hope
Like
Snyder. I would love to see. I would love to have a commentary from Snyder too.
yeah, commentary, whole behind the scenes. I still want someone to make a documentary about just the entire phenomenon of this entire event because this is a rare, like once in a while type of occurrence. It's
Well,
like the
this is
fact that
opening the door because the fact that this was the biggest thing for HBO since Game of Thrones, like,
yeah,
yeah, they're talking about
it's a big deal,
yeah.
and hopefully opens the door so that we can do more stuff like this in the future. I want to see more comic book films that don't that
I
just
just want to
let.
see more films like do stuff like this. Like, forget just genre stuff. Like,
Oh no,
just
well, I'm building up to that. I mean, like I want to see more comic book movies just that just go nuts.
mhm,
You don't give a rat. It's like don't give a fuck about an audience about like trying to please an audience and play it safe. Just have fun. Have a story. Have a take on it. Put some personality on it. Put some flair. Do something different.
yep.
Give us something wild that
Take a
that gives
risk.
us yeah, give us something. Give us just something that we haven't seen before. Go fucking nuts. And then I want to see more filmmakers do the same thing. Like go fucking nuts. It's like go fucking bananas. Like just tell us the stories that you want, and I want us to be able to live in a world where none of that stuff is compromised by by the studio. It's like what the filmmaker wants us to see is what we ultimately end up seeing
Right.
for comic book movies, for films in general, and just really just the industry as a whole. Like I really don't. It doesn't matter what the project is. I feel like that final vision, that vision that they have in mind from the beginning of production to the end, is the one that audiences should be seeing without compromise, without issue. I want to live in a world where you have an idea and you get to see it through in its entirety without any pieces left behind.
Right.
I want us to be able I want to be able to live in a future where the cutting room floor is just back for trimming the very much unnecessary fats and not for trimming huge chunks of
Deep.
story, huge chunks of the entire picture because you think people are going to get bored sitting through a 2.5 hour to 3 hour movie.
Right. But hey, I'm gonna kind of end it here because Doc needs to go outside. My computer's about to die. So
Oh no, but anyway, that was our wonderful review discussion of
yeah,
Zack Snyder's Justice League. Hopefully, we weren't too all over the map about that, and I feel like we should open up the floor for this. You heard us bitch about and give our thoughts about this as well as the DCEU and the entire phenomenon as a whole.
mhm.
So we would love to hear your thoughts. What did you think of Zack Snyder's Justice League? Do you want to see the sequels? Did you like the movie? Did you dislike it? What are your thoughts, opinions? We would very much love to hear those and maybe start a dialogue about that because
Yeah.
we're fucking nerds and we would just eat that kind of shit up. So please
Oh yeah.
humor us. But anyway, that is very much all for now. Thank you all so very much for watching, and we will both be back around next time.
Bye.
Farewell.